Stop. Before you scroll past this video, before the noise of the world pulls you back into the relentless current of obligation and performance, I need you to pause and feel something. Notice your body right now. Notice the weight in your chest that you have been carrying for so long you forgot it was there. Notice the tension in your jaw that has become so familiar it feels like part of your face. Notice the exhaustion that lives beneath your daily energy, the kind of tiredness that no amount of sleep ever quite resolves. Notice it, because that is not weakness. That is not failure. That is not something wrong with you that needs to be fixed or optimized or pushed through. That is your body and your nervous system, and your soul telling you something true. Something is being cleansed in you right now. Something old, something inherited, something that does not belong to who you actually are but has been living inside you for so long that you mistook it for your own identity. And the cleansing is not gentle. It is not comfortable. It is not the soft rebrand of wellness culture with its candles and bath salts and weekend retreats. It is sacred. And sacred things are rarely easy. What you are going through right now, what has been making your life feel disorienting and exhausting and strangely meaningful all at the same time, has a name. The deepest psychological traditions and the oldest spiritual traditions and the most honest understandings of trauma and healing all converge on the same recognition. Your life is undergoing a spiritual cleansing, a clearing of inherited pain, a surfacing of buried truth, a dismantling of the protective structures that helped you survive your past but are now blocking the life that is trying to emerge through you. And today I am going to walk you through the 7 signs that this sacred process is happening in you, not so you can dismiss them, not so you can manage them, so you can finally understand what is actually occurring beneath the surface of your daily life and stop fighting the very process that is trying to give you back to yourself. Let us begin. Before I share the 7 signs, I want you to understand something important about how this works. Most of what we carry inside us was never ours to begin with. The exhaustion, the hypervigilance, the patterns of self-abandonment, the compulsive caretaking, the inability to rest, the voice in your head that criticizes you so consistently you assume it is just your own thinking. None of it started with you. It came from somewhere, from a parent who was carrying their own unhealed pain, from a family system that taught you that your survival depended on suppressing certain truths about yourself, from a culture that rewarded you for performing instead of being, for producing instead of feeling, for achieving instead of resting. Your body absorbed all of it. Your nervous system organized itself around it. Your psyche built elaborate structures to accommodate it. And for years, perhaps for decades, you have been living inside an inheritance you never consciously chose. A spiritual cleansing is what happens when the body and the soul finally refuse to keep carrying what was never yours. It is not a breakdown, it is a breakthrough. It is the deepest intelligence within you saying that the cost of continuing to carry this inheritance has become greater than the cost of finally letting it go. And the letting go is messy. It is destabilizing. It looks from the outside and sometimes from the inside like a crisis, but it is not a crisis. It is a homecoming, a returning to the version of you that existed before the world taught you, who you had to become in order to be safe and accepted and loved. Now let me show you the 7 signs that this sacred cleansing is happening in your life right now. The first sign is that you can no longer tolerate what you used to tolerate. Situations you used to manage suddenly feel unbearable. Relationships that used to seem normal now feel suffocating. Conversations you used to participate in now feel like they are draining the life out of you in real time. This is not you becoming difficult. This is not you becoming intolerant or selfish or hard to be around. This is your nervous system finally refusing to accept what it has been quietly accommodating for years. The body keeps the score. It remembers everything. Every time you stayed silent when you wanted to speak. Every time you said yes when your truth was no. Every time you smiled through pain because the situation seemed to require it. Every time you abandoned yourself in order to remain in connection with someone who was not actually meeting you. The body remembers all of it. And at a certain point, the body says no more. Not because you have become weaker, but because you have become more honest. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something deep inside you has finally remembered what is right. The boundaries you could not find for yourself, your body is now finding for you. The truths you could not speak, your nervous system is now refusing to silence. When the things you used to tolerate become intolerable, you are not breaking down. You are waking up. The second sign is that your body is speaking louder than it ever has before. Strange symptoms appearing, old injuries flaring up, new sensitivities emerging, sleep patterns shifting, energy levels swinging unpredictably, tears arriving without warning at moments that should not produce tears. This is not your body betraying you. This is your body finally being heard after years of being suppressed. The body is the place where everything that was never spoken eventually gets stored. Every emotion you could not afford to feel, every word that had to be swallowed, every truth that was too dangerous to acknowledge. All of it ends up living somewhere in your tissues, your organs, your nervous system, your immune function. And when the spiritual cleansing begins, when the deeper movement of healing finally has space to express itself, the body becomes the channel through which all of that stored material starts to surface and release. The headaches that arrive when you finally have time to rest, the illness that descends right after you complete a major project, the fatigue that overwhelms you in the middle of a normal day for no apparent reason. These are not failures of health, they are completions of suppression. The body is saying, I have been holding this for you for years. I cannot hold it any longer. It needs to come out. If you are experiencing unusual symptoms during this period of your life, please, of course, consult medical care. But also, beneath the medical conversation, listen to what your body is trying to tell you on the deeper level. It has been waiting a very long time for you to finally pay attention. The third sign is that grief arrives without explanation. You will be doing something ordinary, driving home from work, standing in your kitchen, walking through the park, and suddenly an enormous wave of sadness will rise up through you, not connected to anything obvious, not triggered by any specific event, just there, vast and heavy and inexplicable. You may try to push it back down. You may distract yourself. You may wonder what is wrong with you for crying when nothing visible has happened to make you cry. Nothing is wrong with you. You are finally feeling what you have been unable to feel for years. The grief that arrives during a spiritual cleansing is not new grief. It is old grief. It is the grief of every loss you did not have time to mourn properly. The grief of childhoods that did not give you what you needed. The grief of relationships that ended without closure. The grief of the version of yourself that you had to abandon in order to survive certain chapters of your life. And the grief of all the ways your one precious life has been shaped by forces that were never asking what you actually wanted. This grief has been waiting in you for years, decades sometimes. It could not surface until now because the structures of your life did not have enough safety, enough space, enough capacity to hold it. But something has shifted. The conditions are finally right, and the grief is rising because the grief is finally allowed to rise. Let it. Do not push it back down. Do not perform okayness through it. Do not apologize to anyone for the tears that arrive at unexpected moments. The grief is not the problem. The grief is the solution. It is the body and the soul finally completing what they were not permitted to complete in real time. Every wave of unexplained sadness that moves through you and out of you is one more piece of inherited weight finally being released. You are not falling apart. You are finally letting yourself feel. The fourth sign is that certain people are leaving your life. Not necessarily through dramatic ruptures, sometimes simply through quiet drift. Calls that used to happen no longer happen. Friendships that felt central become peripheral. Relationships that organized your social world for years quietly fade. And often, simultaneously, you find yourself unable to maintain certain dynamics that you used to perform automatically. The role of the strong one, the role of the helper, the role of the listener who never gets listened to, the role of the person who keeps the family together through sheer will. You can no longer play these roles. Not because you have become uncaring, because you have finally become honest. Right now, if something in this video is reaching the part of you that has been silently watching your life shift in ways you have struggled to explain, type 777 in the comments below. The frequency of a soul that is undergoing the sacred work of becoming whole. The signal that you are ready to acknowledge what is happening to you rather than suppress it. The declaration that you are choosing the cleansing over the comfort of the old patterns that no longer fit who you are becoming. Type it now, not as performance, as recognition, as the conscious acknowledgement that the shifts in your relationships, the changes in your tolerances, the surfacing of buried emotion are not random. They are the visible expressions of an invisible sacred process. The field always responds to those who name what is happening to them. Now back to the fourth sign. The relationships that are leaving your life are leaving because they were sustained by a version of you that no longer exists. The friendships that drained more than they gave. The connections that required your performance rather than your presence. The dynamics that depended on your willingness to abandon yourself in order to remain close to someone who was not capable of meeting your wholeness. These relationships cannot survive the cleansing, because the cleansing is dismantling the very parts of you that the relationships were built upon. This is not failure, this is alignment. Your social field is reorganizing itself to match the deeper truth of who you are becoming. The relationships that survive will be the ones that can hold the larger and more honest version of you. The ones that cannot survive were never actually meeting you in the first place. They were meeting the performance you offered in order to remain in proximity to people who could not love what was real. Let them go. The grief of these losses is real. The loneliness that arrives in the wake of these clearings is real. But the relationships that are ending were not nourishing the part of you that is now finally allowed to live. What is leaving makes space for what is coming. And what is coming will meet you in ways the previous relationships could not. The fifth sign is that you are remembering things you have not thought about in years. Memories from childhood surfacing unprompted, old wounds becoming vivid again, specific moments from 20 or 30 years ago suddenly returning with the emotional intensity of having just happened. This is not regression, this is integration. The psyche is doing the work of going back and finishing what it could not finish in the original moments. As a child, you did not have the resources to fully process what was happening to you. You did not have the capacity to feel what you needed to feel about what was being done or not done in your developing life. You did not have the safety, the language, the support to complete the emotional work that the moment required. So your psyche stored those experiences in their incomplete form. It tucked them away in the unconscious, waiting for a time when you would have the capacity to return and finish what could not be finished then. That time is now. The memories that are surfacing are not surfacing to torment you. They are surfacing because some deep intelligence within you has decided you are finally ready to receive them, to feel what you could not feel then, to understand what you could not understand then, to finally complete the emotional metabolism that the original moment required but could not provide. Welcome the memories. Let them speak. Let yourself feel what you needed to feel decades ago but could not. This is not living in the past. This is finally allowing the past to complete itself so it can finally release its grip on the present. The sixth sign is that you are losing interest in things that used to define you. Goals you used to pursue with passion now feel hollow. Achievements you used to chase now feel like distractions. Versions of success that organized years of your life now feel like prisons designed by someone else for reasons that no longer make sense to you. This is not depression, this is discernment. The cleansing is doing the work of separating what was actually yours from what was inherited or imposed or performed. And many of the things you have been pursuing for years, perhaps for most of your life, were not actually yours. They were the inheritance of family expectations, the internalization of cultural definitions of worthiness, the compensation strategies for wounds you were never given time to heal. When those things start to feel hollow, you are not losing your motivation. You are losing your false motivations. And in the space they leave behind, something else begins to emerge. Quieter desires, older longings, pulls toward directions that the achieving self would never have permitted you to consider. These quieter pulls are the voice of who you actually are beneath the inheritance. The voice that was silenced when you learned that your survival depended on becoming someone else. The voice that has been waiting beneath the performance for the moment when you would finally have enough capacity to hear it. Listen to it. Not the loud voice that has been telling you who you should be. The quiet voice that has been telling you who you actually are. The cleansing is making the loud voice quieter, so the quiet voice can finally become audible. The seventh sign is that you feel both more lost and more found than you have ever felt in your life. This is the paradox of the sacred cleansing, the paradox almost no one warns you about. You feel disoriented. You no longer recognize your own life. The structures that organized your previous chapter are dissolving, and what is replacing them has not yet fully arrived. And simultaneously, beneath the disorientation, something else is true. You feel more like yourself than you have ever felt, more honest, more present, more aware of what is real and what was performance, more able to feel your own feelings without immediately suppressing them or explaining them away. The lost and the found are not in conflict. They are two faces of the same process. You are losing the inherited self. You are finding the actual self. You are losing the structures that were built on the inheritance. You are finding the deeper structures that have been waiting beneath them your entire life. This in-between is the most uncomfortable place a human being can occupy. The old has not fully released. The new has not fully arrived. You are standing in the threshold, with one foot in a life that no longer fits and one foot in a life that has not yet taken full form. And the temptation, the enormous and constant temptation, is to go back, to rebuild the old structures, to return to the relationships that no longer fit, to reach again for the goals that have lost their meaning, to resume the performance that no longer feels possible. Do not. The discomfort of the threshold is not a sign that you have made a wrong turn. It is a sign that you are exactly where the cleansing requires you to be. The discomfort is the friction of transformation. It is what it feels like when an old structure is releasing and a new one is not yet ready. It is what it feels like to be honest with yourself for perhaps the first time in your life about what you actually want, what you actually feel, who you actually are. Stay in the threshold. Let it be uncomfortable. Let it teach you. Let it slowly clear the space for what is genuinely yours to finally arrive. Now I want to give you something practical, a simple way to support yourself through this sacred cleansing, because what is happening to you is real and it deserves real support. The first thing I want to tell you is this: slow down. The cleansing requires capacity. Capacity requires rest. Rest requires permission. And permission, in a culture that has trained you to constantly produce and perform and achieve, may be the hardest thing you ever give yourself. Give yourself the permission anyway. Cancel things that do not need to be done. Say no to invitations you do not have the energy for. Reduce your output. Lower your standards for what you accomplish in a given day. Stop measuring your worth by your productivity. Your nervous system is doing the deepest work of your life right now. It cannot do that work and also maintain the pace that you have been demanding of yourself for years. Slow down. The cleansing requires it. The second thing I want to tell you is this: feel. The body and the soul are surfacing material that needs to be felt, not analyzed, not explained, not rushed through on the way to something more comfortable. Felt. Make space in your day, even just a few minutes, for the feelings that are arising to actually be felt. Sit with them. Breathe with them. Cry if the tears come. Shake if the shaking comes. Allow your body to do what it has been waiting to do for years. The feeling is the medicine. The feeling is the cleansing itself. There is no shortcut around the feeling. There is only the willingness to finally allow what has been suppressed to move through and out of you. The third thing I want to tell you is this: find one person. Not many, one. One person who can hold what is happening to you without trying to fix it, without trying to talk you out of it, without making your process about their discomfort. One person who can simply be present with you in the threshold, without demanding that you exit it before you are ready. This might be a therapist. This might be a friend who has done their own deep work. This might be a healer or a guide or a quiet, wise figure in your life who knows how to listen without immediately responding. You do not have to do this alone. You were never meant to do this alone. Find your one person. Let them witness what is happening to you. The witnessing itself is part of the cleansing. If you have stayed with this video to this point, I want to acknowledge something. You are not in crisis. You are in transformation. These are not the same thing, even though they often look identical from the outside and feel identical from the inside. A crisis is the breakdown of a life that was working. A transformation is the necessary dismantling of a life that was not working, but that you had not yet had the capacity to acknowledge was not working. What is happening to you is the second one. Your nervous system, your body, your psyche, your soul have all converged on the same conclusion. The way you have been living cannot continue, not because you are weak, because the way you have been living was built on inheritances and performances and suppressions that were never sustainable in the first place. The cleansing is the process of finally clearing what cannot continue so that something genuinely yours can finally begin. And the sacred part of it, the part that mystical and contemplative traditions have been pointing toward for thousands of years, is that this clearing is not punishment. It is not random. It is not evidence that something has gone wrong with your life. It is evidence that something is finally going right. The deepest intelligence within you, the part that knows you better than your conscious mind has ever known you, has decided that you are ready. Ready to release what was never yours, ready to feel what you could not previously feel, ready to remember what you had to forget, ready to become who you actually are beneath everything you were taught to become. This is the sacred work. This is the holy ground. This is what has been waiting for you your entire life. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And what is happening in your life right now, painful and disorienting and exhausting as it sometimes is exactly the process through which that becoming finally arrives. Do not run from it. Do not numb it. Do not try to optimize your way out of it. Let it cleanse you. Let it release what needs to be released. Let it surface what needs to surface. Let it dismantle what needs to be dismantled. Let it slowly clear the space inside you for the version of yourself that has been waiting beneath every inheritance and every performance and every suppressed truth for the moment when you would finally have enough capacity and enough courage to receive yourself fully. That moment is now. Type 777 in the comments if this video has reached you in the place where you have been living without language for what is happening to you. The frequency declares that you recognize what is sacred in what has been disorienting. The declaration places you consciously in the field of those who are doing this work rather than fighting it. Subscribe if your soul is hungry for this depth. Share this with one person you know who is in their own threshold right now, who is experiencing the disorientation of a life dissolving and a new life not yet arrived. Give them this. Give them the recognition that what they are going through is sacred rather than broken. And remember, you are not falling apart. You are being cleansed. You are not in crisis. You are in transformation. You are not losing your life. You are losing the version of your life that was never actually yours, so that the life that has been waiting beneath it your entire life can finally emerge. The exhaustion is the body releasing what it has been holding for years. The grief is the heart finally completing what was never allowed to complete. The disorientation is the soul reorganizing itself around what is real. The endings of relationships are the field clearing space for what can actually meet you. The loss of interest in old goals is the discernment between what was inherited and what is genuinely yours. The memories are the integration of what was incomplete. And the in-between place where you currently stand, with the old gone and the new not yet arrived, is not a wrong turn. It is the threshold where becoming actually happens. Stay in the threshold. Let the cleansing do its work. Trust the deeper intelligence that has brought you here. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And the sacred cleansing happening in your life right now is exactly the process through which that becoming finally arrives. You are exactly where you need to be, even if it does not feel that way yet. Especially because it does not feel that way yet. The discomfort is the doorway. Walk through it.